Welcome back to another edition of the Jacob and Jacob podcast. I'm Jacob Hare, and alongside me is my co-host. And today, we are lucky to be joined by the founders of Hoops Maps, Donte and Dominic Morris. Thanks for being with us today, guys.
Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. So, my first question for you guys is, can you guys explain what Hoops Map is, and how did you come up with this idea?
Yes.
Dominic, I think
All
you're a
right,
little
so we came up
laggy.
with the idea. We were just okay. Let me.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and explain a little bit. So Hoop Maps was really an idea where, me and Dominic, we went to college together.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually baseball guys. So after every baseball game we'll play, we'll be real interested in, who want to play a basketball game afterwards. And the issue that we always run into was 2 guys want to play, 3 guys didn't want to play. We'll never have enough to get a full run. So after a baseball game, we'll drive around to a court, we'll see people leave, or, we'll drive to a court and be completely full. And this was at a time where DoorDash was big, Uber was coming out. It was like a lot of these apps for services for really like kind of finding a ride, finding food. So it was like it had to be an app out there on the market where you could find a decent pickup game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our simple, our quest is how could we create an app where people could find pickup games in their area? And that's kind of where it started.
Yeah, for sure.
So after you guys started that, how did you guys end up taking that to Shark Tank? How did that happen?
Am I still lagging a little bit?
No, I think you're better now.
Okay. So Shark Tank, it was a little long journey. So earlier in that year, like everybody that create apps, not a lot of people know about it. So while we was building up the app, we still had a mindset of how can we get this out to our audience. And what I did on a very, very local level is I emailed all the reporters for the local Sacramento news stations, whether it was the Sacramento Bee or television news stations or radio stations, and just kind of let them know the progress, see if they could run like a human interest piece or a comment feature on it. Didn't hear nothing back for months until one person, it was actually a person I went to college with. She worked for the student paper at Sac State, and she was actually a reporter for a local news station. And she ran, it was CBS 13. And from that story, as long as I went like all the newspapers, people about who I was telling all my friends, I shared it, they shared it, and it was kind of like a viral moment where outlets like Lavin, Sports Center, Now News, kind of picked up on the story. That's how the users of Shark Tank saw it. It was through us going viral.
So what did you guys take away from your experience from Shark Tank, and what was the best advice you received from the Sharks?
Yeah, so when we got on Shark Tank, we were still pretty early. Like we just released the app maybe 3 months earlier. So, going on there was like a big step. That was essentially our first investor meeting, and it, happened on TV. So our biggest takeaway was, really when you go in to invest money, a lot of investors are looking for, ideas that's already been established or a marketplace that's already been established as well. So, pickup basketball was a great concept, but it wasn't necessarily a proven revenue model. And, going on Shark Tank, they're always looking for, how can I turn $10,000 into $1 million? So that part of our pitch, wasn't included. It was just based off the concept. So when we got on Shark Tank, we learned that, all right, we got a great idea, but, how can we establish a revenue model, and how can we project that and show that we can prove that? So that's what we really learned. We walked away with knowing that part of the game.
How have you expanded your app following this? And also, have you made any additional partnerships following your experience at Shark Tank?
If you want to take it, Dominic.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? I didn't hear you.
Oh yeah, sorry about that. After Shark Tank, how have you guys expanded the app, and also have you made any additional partnerships?
Well, yeah, we spun it out right after that. We made a partnership with.
So before we hopped on to, oh, go ahead, Dante. Go ahead.
Yeah, so right after Shark Tank, we actually made a deal with the Big Three with Ice Cube, 3-on-3 basketball league.
Yeah.
And we worked the advertising deal. So every city that they'll go to, they'll promote Hoop Maps in their city, and we also would, do promotion. So we'll go on our app and say, Big Three come in your city. If you want to buy tickets, participate in a 3-point contest. So we was actively engaging our users in each city they went to, and in return they'll advertise in stadium on social media, pretty much about our app. So it was good because that was their first year, and we're still a relatively new app, and we already had users all across the country. But this was a way to engage with them, just more than just them like looking and finding a basketball game. So some of the improvements we did was we integrated advertising into our app, so where people could see more than just playing pickup basketball game. They could see the local Big Three basketball game that's coming to your town and more event-based stuff. So that was like one of the first moves that we did.
How many active users?
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
oh, you said how many active users we have? So right now we have about 100,000 that's installed on the app, and about 30,000 that's active. But as of March of this year, we actually put a pause on the app due to COVID-19. So what we've been working on before this pandemic was actually a product called Curated Runs, where we actually set up pickup games in different markets where people of the same skill level, same age, they get together and they get to play pickup basketball. So that was kind of like the answer to the Shark Tank was like our revenue model. It was like our premium version is the subscription style of pickup basketball. It's like think of it like a rec league, but it's continuous.
And so while you guys have so clearly the pandemic has hindered the ability for pickup basketball games to happen, do you guys have plans to sort of restart the app, or is the app already restarted?
Yeah, we're still waiting to see. Right now here in California, there's been a re-lockdown. They've been locking us down for the next 3 weeks. And I'm pretty sure, each county and each city is different. So just like as us being a responsible, app, we don't want to encourage people to go out there and play. So we're still kind of playing it by ear. What we've been doing in the meantime is we've been shooting a lot of content and just kind of been shooting, editing, and keeping it in the can. And we plan to roll that out at the top of the year. So we can release it on our app, and we send it to all our emails of our users just to keep people engaged. With the basketball season starting up so early, it's good that basketball players that's out there that want to play, they can at least watch content. So we want to kind of follow that same method. We could put out original content where our users could still stay engaged and look at some basketball related stuff.
And is this app for pickup games nationwide? So, or is it just in certain areas for now?
It's actually international. So like we had users from the Philippines to Iceland to Australia, kind of all over the world. But for our curated runs, we launched it in 5 different markets:
That's all.
Sacramento, LA, and actually up in New York. Yep.
All right, you guys have really expanded since the beginning of it. So I was checking out your Instagram before we did this podcast, and I saw you guys are doing virtual basketball workouts. How's that started during the pandemic, and how is that going?
Yeah, it's been cool. So we have a lot of trainers and people that does basketball skill camps. So we've been playing around with kind of engaging them and activating them and using it on our platform. We have our Curated Runs website that kind of hosts those virtual workouts. So we did a couple. It was a cool response. We looking to expand that more as long as pandemic is still going.
Yeah, and as Donte mentioned earlier, the basketball season's starting up. And we were talking earlier before we started the podcast about your Warriors. I just have one last question before we let you guys go. Do the Warriors finish better than the 5 seed this season?
That's tough. Then 5 seed, I see the Warriors like the Spurs were. The Spurs was always a consistent 6, 7. They'll always get in there. I think the Warriors will get in the playoff, but I don't think they finish above 5. I'm thinking more 6, 7, 8.
Who do you
I
think
say
wins
they're
that game the most? Or sorry, what were we saying? Yeah.
say they'll be the number 3 seed. I see them right behind the LA teams. Like I see them being up there. It's a really redemption year for the Warriors. Everybody slept on them in 2019, 2020. So I think this year coming out 2021, people are going to recognize that the Warriors still number 1.
Can Curry
Who
put
has
together
who
an
has-
MVP
sorry.
season?
Can you say it again?
Can Curry put together an MVP season?
He can, but he's up against Giannis. He up against a really ticked off LeBron. He's up against a
Yes.
KD that's coming back that got something to prove.
Curry's going to be very you're going to see him.
I think they're gonna give it to LeBron this year. That's my pick.
Are the Lakers going back to back?
I think so. I think the Lakers are their best team. They did real good in the offseason. They signed a lot of key players. They didn't really lose a lot.
Yeah.
Like the Clippers, which they were slated to be the best team last year. They don't really have a bench, and they signed Paul George and Kawhi still there, but they lost Trez, and they lost a lot of key players that really made the core of their team. So I think it's a strong Lakers. They got a good possibility of winning, but don't sleep on a team like Denver that show some real promise last year. Utah showed some promise, but as far as the overall best players, it's AD and LeBron, and I think they'll take it again, barring no injury.
Am I crazy to think Luka's going to win?
Yeah.
All right.
Luka's good, though. Luka's good, but he needs some more help. He's good. He's up and coming. I say Luka and Trae Young and Ja Morant, they are like the next up and coming stars in the league. They just need a couple more years, and they need some playoff experience. It was good for Luka to be in the playoffs last year in the bubble, but I think he needs a couple more key players to really take Dallas above it.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I agree with you guys on the Warriors making the playoffs. Right now, I have them making it as the 4th seed. I think it's a redemption year for Curry. But thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And to all our listeners, make sure you download Hoop Maps and follow them on Instagram. And thank you again, Dominic and Donte. Appreciate having you guys.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.